That day, in the dusty silence of my grandfather's attic, I uncovered a secret that thousands of creators spend years searching for. And it had nothing to do with an algorithm. I was on the verge of giving up entirely. Really. Months I'd spent creating content, sleepless nights analyzing statistics that remained stubbornly flat. I'd tried everything: trends, popular music, short form, long form. I had become a copy of a copy, my voice lost in the noise. Passion had become a chore, and the word viral made me sick to my stomach. It was in this state of mind, on a dull Saturday afternoon, that my mother asked me to help her clear out Grandpa's attic. An incredible mess, a lifetime of memories. And at the very back, under an old tarp, a wooden trunk. Inside, no treasure, no old coins, but dozens of notebooks. Black notebooks, all identical, filled with his tight handwriting. My grandfather was neither a writer, nor an artist, nor a content creator. He was an engineer, a pragmatic man. So, out of curiosity, I opened one. And that's where it all began. In this video, I won't give you a list of 7 tips to go viral. I'm going to tell you the story of what I found in those notebooks. I'm going to share, step by step, my grandfather's unwitting method for generating ideas so powerful they are, by nature, irresistible. And believe me, the last chapter was an absolute game-changer for me. The first notebook was perplexing. There were no stories, no profound thoughts. Just questions. Hundreds of questions. The title on the first page was The Museum of Whys. There were things like, why is yawning contagious? Why are soap bubbles always round? Why does time seem to speed up as we get older? I understood the first principle. Most creators look for answers. He collected questions. Questions that everyone silently wonders but no one dares to articulate. He wasn't looking for the complex scientific answer, he was exploring curiosity itself. The starting point of a viral idea isn't an assertion, it's a universal question. It's that I've always wondered why. We all share. The first step, then, was to stop wanting to teach and to start wondering with others. It's a radical shift in approach. Not being the one who knows, but the one who asks the question everyone has on the tip of their tongue. But that was just the beginning. The second notebook transported me to another dimension. The title, The What If Lab. Each page began with those 2 magic words. What if animals could talk? What would be their first complaint? What if humans didn't need to sleep? What would we do with that extra third of our lives? What if we could physically see our luck as a gauge above our heads? This was no longer curiosity, it was pure speculation. He took a concept known to everyone, animals, sleep, luck, and he twisted it with a single hypothesis. This is the second key, the distortion of the familiar. A viral idea often takes an everyday element and applies a different set of rules to it. It forces our brains to imagine, to create scenarios. It doesn't give information, it opens a door in the mind of the viewer. And when a door is opened, people want to see what's behind it. It's a call to collective imagination. We no longer just consume content, we mentally participate in it. The third notebook made me smile. The title was, Survival Guide Against Universal Pet Peeves. The principle was simple, find a common, tiny, harmless enemy, and unite everyone against it. There were entire pages on the mystery of the lone sock that disappears in the washing machine, the art of stepping on a Lego brick barefoot at 3 in the morning, or even that darn USB plug you always have to turn 3 times before it fits. This is the third pillar, shared frustration. Nothing connects people more than a common complaint. By identifying these everyday micro-frustrations, these experiences that 100% of the population has lived through, he created an instant sense of belonging. Oh yeah, me too. That's the most powerful comment on the internet. We're not talking about politics, not about divisive topics. We're talking about the lid of the jam jar that's too tight. It's light, it's innocuous, and it's incredibly unifying. A viral idea doesn't need to be profound, it just needs to be deeply relatable. And frustration is the most relatable emotion there is. And just as I thought I had grasped his logic, the fourth notebook complicated everything. It was called Invisible Bridges. Here, my grandfather played a strange game. He picked two random words from a dictionary and tried to connect them with a story or logic, no matter how absurd. I found associations like banana and black hole, coffee machine and Roman Empire, fork and space conquest. It seemed crazy, but reading his elaborations, I understood. He explained how the curvature of a banana could illustrate the distortion of space-time, or how the logistics for supplying Roman legions with wheat wasn't so different from the supply chain of modern coffee capsules. This is the fourth rule, the unexpected connection. Creativity is often nothing more than that, creating a bridge between two ideas that seem to have no relation. It's the aha moment. The instant when the audience's brain makes a connection it had never made before. It's surprising, it's clever, and it gives the impression of having discovered a secret. The most viral ideas are often at the intersection of two universes no one had thought to bring together. But the real eye-opener came later. The fifth notebook was perhaps the simplest in appearance. Its title, The Decoder. It was full of jargon. Terms from mechanics, cooking, medicine, law. And next to each complex term, he didn't give a definition. He gave an ultra-simple analogy, a visual metaphor. For example, to explain what a firewall is in computing, he had drawn a nightclub bouncer checking IDs. To explain photosynthesis, he had drawn a tiny factory on a tree leaf that converts sunlight into energy bars. This is the fifth secret, radical simplification. Making the inaccessible, accessible. Translating the complex into the simple. People love to learn, but they hate to feel stupid. When you give them a key to understanding, a simple image for a complicated concept, they feel brilliant. They feel like they've cracked a mystery. And that feeling of now I get it, they have an irresistible urge to share it to show they've understood. Content that makes us feel smart is content we share. I was fascinated. Each notebook was a new layer of understanding. The sixth tackled the core of the problem. It was called emotion engineering. These weren't ideas anymore, but blueprints. Each page was dedicated to a single emotion: nostalgia, satisfaction, anger, at injustice, wonder, relief. For each emotion, he listed triggers. For nostalgia, the sound of a cassette rewinding, the smell of chalk on a blackboard. For satisfaction, the sound of product unboxing, an image of perfect organization, a spectacular before/after. This is the sixth law, and perhaps the most important. An idea doesn't go viral because of the information it contains, but because of the emotion it conveys. Even before thinking about the idea, he thought about the emotion he wanted to evoke. Content is just a vehicle. Emotion is the destination. People forget facts, figures, arguments. They never forget how they felt. Do you want them to feel inspired? Satisfied? Indignant? Choose a single emotion and build your entire idea around that unique goal. I put down the sixth notebook. My head was spinning. I felt like I had discovered a treasure map. But there was one left. A single notebook, deep in the trunk. It was different from the others. Thinner. And it contained only one sentence, repeated on every page. I opened it, and that's when I understood. That's when all the puzzle pieces clicked into place to form the final picture. It wasn't a method for finding ideas. It was a method for filtering them. It was the seventh and final step. The most brutal. The most essential. After every idea he had noted in the other notebooks, after every question, every what if, every connection, he had written in red capital letters, like a final stamp, so what? Why should anyone care? What's the consequence? What does it change for the person reading or seeing it? If the answer to that question wasn't immediate, simple, and impactful, he'd cross out the entire page in his other notebooks. So what was his ruthless filter? An idea could be curious, funny, clever, well-phrased. But if it didn't pass the so what test, it was worthless. It remained noise. And I realized that was my problem. I was producing videos that were what? But I never had a so what. I was giving information, but without impact, without a reason to pay attention. That day, in that attic, I understood that the secret to finding a viral idea wasn't in abundance. It was in elimination. It wasn't in what to do, but in what to refuse to do. You have to refuse ideas that don't have a powerful so what. I closed the trunk, walked down the stairs, but I was no longer the same person. I dropped all the trend lists. I took a blank sheet of paper. I jotted down a small curiosity I'd had since childhood, a shared frustration, made an unexpected connection, simplified it with an analogy, chose the emotion of wonder. And then, I asked myself the question. The only one that matters. So what? I found the answer. I made the video. And for the first time, the numbers soared. Not because I had found a hack, but because I had finally created something that mattered, if only for a few seconds, to others. Virality isn't a stroke of luck. It's the result of a process. A process of empathy, curiosity, and brutal honesty with oneself. A process that always starts with a question and always ends with the same one. So what? Share with someone who wants to break through. Don't forget to subscribe.